So, we could do a better job at training. We could do a better job at involving employees in the process. They do their jobs day in, day out, and nobody knows how to do their jobs better than them. Yet, as I said, reflecting back on my experience, rarely do we go to the employees and ask their opinions and get their input in the problem-solving process.
This is Hospitality One-to-One, conversations on the industry. Here's your host, Chris Bennis.
We are excited to have Al Munguia joining us. Al is the current GM of the Jupiter Hotel in Portland, a unique hotel that caters to the modern traveler. Al has been at the Jupiter for over 12 years, witnessing changes in the Portland market and helping the market, as Al also serves as the commissioner of Oregon Tourism Commission. Through his involvement on the commission and other organizations, Al has helped drive incremental business to Portland and Oregon through a variety of diverse markets, including international and LGBTQ groups. And now, Al Munguia. Again, Al, thanks for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. Very much appreciated.
That's great. So, I want to kind of get it kicked off here. As I introduced you, you, of course, are both the commissioner of the Tourism Commission as well as the general manager of the Jupiter Hotel. How do you juggle both those roles?
I'll be honest with you. I'm quite fortunate that I have an incredible staff at the hotel level, at the property level, that really makes my life easy and allows me the opportunity to spend as much time as I need on the Tourism Commission work. Fortunately, in all honesty as well, the Tourism Commission work, whereas it is extensive, it is not all time consuming. So balancing both is not quite a challenge or as big a struggle as it would appear, or as it may sound.
So you've been very smart about bringing in the best talent, and that's allowed you to be able to be diverse in your portfolio, if you will.
Yes. I've always seen my role, as far as being general manager, I've seen my role as that my job is really to develop the next phase of leaders in the industry and at my hotel. And I have the good fortune of being surrounded by extremely talented, smart working individuals. So it allows me the opportunity to dabble in other things and sort of keep the bigger picture approach in mind at all times.
Now, if we could, let's talk a little bit about the area. Obviously, you're in Portland, and when it comes speaking into the Oregon area in general, you've seen a market that has changed significantly over the years. How have you seen that Portland market change?
The Portland market has been, I've been in the Portland market approximately 13 years. And during that time, the work of Travel Oregon and Travel Portland have really paid off in that it has put Portland on not only the domestic, but also on the international map as a destination. Portland always had the good fortune of being a moderate market in the sense that we had demand that sort of outpaced supply. So everyone did extremely well for the most part during the last 13 years. This year, we are seeing that dramatically change. We have 13 new properties that will be opening during the course of 2018, adding a huge amount of rooms to the market. So whereas the market has grown, and it'll be interesting to see what the future holds with these new properties and how the dynamic changes from here on out.
What do you attribute the biggest success to the Portland market?
Again, I honestly have to say it is the work of Travel Oregon and Travel Portland, our destination marketing organizations for the state and the city. These two organizations work very close in tandem with a very clear vision of putting Portland and Oregon, like I said, on the map. They are very strategic in their planning, in their marketing, in understanding who the consumer is and how to target. And also, credit has to be given to TV as well. You have a show like Portlandia that reached a very wide audience and put the idea of Portland in people's minds. You also have other television shows which have showcased Portland that have helped us then reach a broader consumer and made people see that Portland is one of those interesting cities that merits a visit.
Now, when it comes to the market itself, not only has Portland from a hotel market obviously gone through quite a transformation, but you've also seen quite a change in the labor market. So with that being said, how do you feel that labor market has changed since you started at the Jupiter?
Well, one of the things that we always have to take a look at is the impact of hospitality as an industry in general, and the tourism industry is responsible for over $1 billion in economic impact into the state, and there are approximately 100,000 jobs that are dependent on tourism. So the fact that these organizations have put Portland on the map has really helped as far as the labor market is concerned, as far as creating jobs. What is interesting, of course, is that as with most of the country at this point, we're seeing some relatively low in comparison to previous years. We're seeing some low unemployment rates, which makes then recruiting a bit more of a challenge. But the good part is that it forces a company to really look at itself and identify how it wants to be seen as an employer and what sort of citizen it plays in the overall community. Because, of course, our responsibility is not only to the ownership, but also to the community in which we reside, and making sure that we're providing a safe, fun, comfortable work environment, and one that compensates its employees fairly as well.
Now, I mean, we know that across the board, turnover on the hospitality industry has been higher than, I could say, average, if you will. And that's, of course, nationwide. What do you attribute the higher turnover in the hotel industry?
Usually, I will be honest with you, I will have to attribute it to poor management or non-responsive management. One thing that we really have attempted to do here at the Jupiter is, as I said earlier, is really create an environment where our employees feel respected, comfortable, and well compensated. Our strategy has always been to pay above what the market has paid. If employees are not worrying about how to make ends meet, they're able to focus a little bit more on their jobs. The philosophy of the ownership of the Jupiter has always been that all ships must rise with the tide as well. And so as the hotel has done increasingly better, so we've been able to pass that along in forms of compensation to our employees. So one is providing a fair wage and a great place to work for. However, I think that in the industry in general, and reflecting back on my experiences growing up in this industry, most of the employees that wound up leaving, it was either because they didn't feel connected to the employer, or they didn't feel part of the bigger process, and that is where I say I fault management, because it is about us creating an environment where employees feel where they have a stake in it as well. So, we could do a better job at training. We could do a better job at involving employees in the process. They do their jobs day in, day out, and nobody knows how to do their jobs better than them. Yet, as I said, reflecting back on my experience, rarely do we go to the employees and ask their opinions and get their input in the problem-solving process.
You had talked about a number of steps to be taken when it comes to the turnover issues and how to resolve them that way. With your experience, what would you tell a hotelier, large, small, branded, independent, that may be suffering from a less than positive employer brand? As a result, they may be having higher turnover. Where do they begin? What's the first step they take to begin to right that ship? I mean, of all the tips you've given, where do they begin? What's step one?
Well, step one, honestly, is looking at your organization and understanding what are your core values, what are you here to do, and what roles you play in the overall community. What do you want your legacy to be? Yes, we're all in this. Everyone is in the hospitality industry, and at the end of the day, profits are a big deal and should be a big focus. But it goes beyond that. It really is about understanding what are the true core values that move your organization, and then aligning your actions to reflect those values. And one of our values, again, has been about creating this environment where guests, employees, the community, locals are all welcome and feel respected and acknowledged and where they could thrive. So I would say the first thing is really looking at your values and understanding what is it that you are really trying to create.
I wanted to take a moment, if we can, and just put a pause, if you will, on the Jupiter, just for a moment, because I want to look bigger picture, all right? Because everyone has a unique story when it comes to how they came into the hospitality industry. So, Al, tell us your story. How did you come to work in the hotel industry?
Wow, that goes back quite a few years. My first job, my mother worked as a room inspectress at the Travelodge San Francisco Airport. And at the age of 16, she helped me get my first job at the Travelodge as well, where I worked as a laundry attendant. And I found it interesting work. While I was there, a position opened up at the front desk. It was a graveyard PBX position, and this was when we still had the old systems that had the cables and the very Lily Tomlin phone operator type setup. And so that was my first experience in hospitality. I then graduated from high school and started going to college, and I needed a job in order to finance my education and just overall living. And so I wound up working at the Clarion San Francisco Airport as a front desk clerk. And that really is, I had an incredible general manager by the name of Ken Buxa, who just admired the man, and I liked the way he thought. I liked the way he led. I liked his just his style, and I credit him for being the one that really made me see this as a possible career as opposed to just a job.
So you've had multiple roles in the hotels. Obviously, you've had great success as a GM. But let's look back earlier in your career. What was your favorite position, aside from GM, that you've had in the hotels?
I've been very fortunate in my career that I've worked with some great organizations. A lot of my background is working for the big box chain hotels. But my favorite experience, back in the early 90s, I worked for Holiday Inns Worldwide at that point, and they created a program called the Rhodes Scholars. We were teams of two that traveled our region, and my region was the Southwest U.S., so I covered New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California, and parts of Nevada. And our objective was to visit every hotel, every Holiday Inn hotel, regardless of chain within the Holiday Inn brand or brand of hotel, and conduct training and serve the hotel. My role was to interact with the general manager and sort of determine, based on the programs and services that Holiday Inn provided, how could we help their individual hotel in their individual markets. And that was the most educational, eye-opening experience for me. I thrived in an environment where I could assist others and conduct training, and I found it very rewarding because in every hotel that I went, there was at least one individual where I saw the light bulb go off a little, and nothing more rewarding, of course, than to sort of leave your fingerprint on how somebody operates or sees the industry, or when somebody has learned something new that will modify the way they work and the way they interact. So yeah, that was the most exciting job, and then I got fortunate in that Holiday Inn decided that Latin America was their next big market, and so they opened up an office in Guadalajara and asked me to step in and oversee the Mexico, Central, and South American markets. So that added piece of international travel to a job that I was already enjoying just made that a spectacular, incredible experience for me.
What a terrific career progression.
Oh, it was, I tell you, Holiday Inn they really invested in training of the Rhodes Scholars, and we spent several months out at Holiday Inn University undergoing extensive training, understanding the industry in all aspects of it, from an HR perspective to a marketing to a rate inventory, business planning, and so they really invested in us and then allowed us to take that knowledge and assist the hotels. And that was, as I said, it was incredibly rewarding because there was not a property that I did not go to where I was not able to provide some sort of guidance or information that would alter and enhance the way they did business.
Now, if we could, let's go back briefly to the Jupiter. It's been featured in numerous magazines nationwide, and we know the hotel is geared more toward of a modern traveler, if you will. Do you see a change in what you may need to hire on the labor side as well?
No, not really. And I'll tell you why. One of the things that we've always focused here at the Jupiter is not focusing so much on skill set, but rather personality. And what I mean by that is I can teach anyone what buttons to press in order to complete a check-in successfully, say, for example. But I can't teach someone the art of service, of smiling, of being personable. So when we are hiring, when we do have a position, we really, really focus on how will this individual fit into the team, and what do they bring to the table to help further that along. Because at the end of the day, we are in the hospitality business where it is about service. It is about anticipating guests' needs. It is about responding and making sure that that individual that is staying with us is made to feel comfortable and welcomed and respected. So in that sense, I don't foresee us changing how we hire, or I don't foresee us, I don't see a need to modify that. But I do think that the big changes as far as recruitment are concerned, maybe that's where the focus will change a little in what do we offer and how do we remain competitive in a very competitive industry. Is so that we attract the right people.
So it's more about what services you can provide to a potential employee as opposed to what you're looking for from a skill set.
Correct. It is, it's a two-way road there in that not only are we looking for the right employee and what they bring to the table, but how can we add value as well to the employee? How do we position ourselves so that this is a place where every day they will wake up and look forward to coming to work?
So your employer brand is almost a living, breathing facet that needs to grow and change as the culture changes.
Oh, I would say every aspect of our business is, and that, yes, you have to constantly be flexible. You constantly have to be responsive. The minute you stop innovating is the minute you become irrelevant. And that also bleeds into the recruitment, hiring, and retention process. You have to keep nimble. You have to keep looking at what is happening and how do we stay relevant within this market.
Now, we're going to talk about the future for a second, but let's look at the future in two different ways. First, future hospitality leaders. So you're a brand new hospitality professional just out of college or just in the industry to begin with, or even just a couple of years in. What advice do you have for someone when they start off? What steps can they take to truly get a good start to their career?
First thing I would say is listen. There are tons of people around us that have great information and great knowledge, and so I would say listen to their input, listen to what they have to say, and then the second part of that would be question a lot. Why do we do this? Why does this happen in this format? And the more you listen and the more you question, I think the more knowledge you're going to gain. Another component that I would strongly suggest is find yourself a great mentor. Find yourself somebody that you feel comfortable with on a personal level, that you could ask questions of, that you feel will provide guidance and who can help steer you when you have questions that they may not be able to answer.
That's great advice. Now, let's look at it, for the interview process, because we know that there's so many times that especially a younger hospitality professional will come in to interview for any role, whatever it may be. Obviously, there are some skills that they must have. But aside from the skill part of it, what do you look for in a successful interview? When it comes to a candidate standpoint, what are those things you look to see in someone?
What I look for in a candidate is like I said, that personality. Firstly, looking at me in the eyes as we speak is a very important thing. Making that connection is very important. And really, what I look for is the overall personality. How does this person fit into our organization? Does that personality stand out? And what I mean by standing out, it's not about being loud or being different. It is, does this personality stand out because it is genuine in their interactions? You can tell fake service and a fake smile when you see it. You can also feel a genuine sense of concern and love to interact with guests. And so that's really what I look for is does this person genuinely enjoy serving the public? And then, of course, after that, you look at, what skill sets do they bring to the table, from a technical standpoint. But it really is more about the genuine, deep-rooted love of service and of interactions that will make or break, in my opinion, an employee.
And our last two questions will also deal with focus, or with the future, I should say. But the first of which is when it comes to the future employee, or even a current employee who wants to continue to grow. What resources, if someone wants to become a GM, for example, or work in management, what resources can they utilize to further their craft, if you will, to gain additional knowledge in addition to mentorship? Are there resources, are there groups they can become part of? Where can they truly continue to grow?
Well, that's an excellent question, because they are going to vary a little bit from city to city. But the first thing that I would say is, we live in the modern age where everything is available on the internet. So first, start your research. The tourism industry is a big animal, and there are various different facets of it. So the first thing is to identify, where in this industry do I see myself? Do I see myself at the hotel level? Do I see myself at the destination marketing level? Do I see myself in PR? Do I see myself in hospitality, finance? So first is identify, where's your passion, and where do you fit in this industry? Second, then the next step would be to use the internet and sort of start digging a little. What organizations, what groups are there that provide assistance or that provide knowledge or resources that I can tap into? But probably the third and most important one is communicate with your supervisors and managers. Let them know what your interest is, because if they know that you're interested in learning and growing, they also will take an active role in that process and push you further. They will share with you information or skills that they may not typically share with somebody else who has not expressed interest. So the idea is just to constantly be aware by listening, by observing, by interacting, and by not staying silent.
What fantastic pointers, Al. Now, the last question I had about the future, if you will, let's look at the future of the Jupiter. I read an article that Jupiter Next is coming, I believe, in April of next year, I believe, which seems to be really exciting. Speak to the difference between the Jupiter and the Jupiter Next, and where the future lies for both properties.
Well, the Jupiter Next is a 67 brand new build that we are building right next door to the current Jupiter, hence the name Jupiter Next. It is next to the Jupiter. It is the next thing in urban hospitality. We view the Jupiter Next as the Jupiter with a little bit more sophistication, a little bit more technology savvy, a little bit more grown up. If you will. What we realize is that the demographic of the Jupiter, and the demographic of the Jupiter is very interesting in that it is very wide as far as age and status and so forth. It is. So we see the Jupiter Next as being that place where as we grow and as our tastes change and as we can afford perhaps a little bit more luxury, a little bit more sophistication, a little bit more comfort, that's what the Jupiter Next will provide.
Wow. So there's a bigger picture at play here. Now, you may have spoken about this a little bit, but will the clientele be the same? Will you be looking at the same type of guests for both properties, or is there a certain niche market you're looking to attract with both? One of our core values at the Jupiter has been all are welcome. And both at the Jupiter and the Jupiter Next, that value remains the same, is that all are welcome. We are here to help you, help the traveler to Portland find that true Portland experience. And so it will not be a completely different focus as far as the demographic is concerned. It'll just be, we now have an additional product that we can offer those that would stay at the Jupiter. We also then will have a different product that we can offer to those that may have in the past not stayed at the Jupiter. So still a very wide net, so still a very large focus on being a true Portland hotel as opposed to a hotel in Portland. Our focus is about connecting the traveler with the true gritty Portland and having them see what Portlanders enjoy about Portland. And not to be outdone, it's my understanding that the Jupiter itself is also going to be getting some unique, fresh food and beverage options, correct?
Well, at the Jupiter Next, we will have a brand new restaurant and bar scene that will be developed. Of course, at the Jupiter Hotel, we have the Doug Fir Restaurant Lounge and live music venue. The Doug Fir is currently recognized as one of the top 10 music venues in the country. It is aesthetically and acoustically brilliantly designed. We have bands from all over the world that play here, 6 nights a week. It is definitely one of Portland's most popular music venues and nightclubs. At the Next, we'll offer the next level of entertainment, if you will, and that will be more of a focus on the experience. The music is more of a background focus than a forefront focus. Mm-hmm. It is more about creating a place where people can come, sit, connect with the environment, but also connect with the people that they are sitting with.
So it's a terrific experience all around. You're trying to provide that guest with a memorable time at either property. Correct.
And what we're trying to do is get them that true feeling of Portland. Have them come in and see how Portlanders live and why we are so fanatical about the city we live in and why we love it so much and why we enjoy sharing it with others.
What an exciting time for Portland, for the Jupiter. Again, I appreciate your time, Al. Before we let you go, how can people get a hold of you?
Very easy. The easiest way, of course, is via email, and my email is very simple. It's just al, at jupiterhotel.com. That is the easiest way, or if not, feel free to call the hotel, 503-230-9200. I am always available, but email is probably the easiest way. Of course, follow us on social media as well.
Oh, of course. We're going to put a link to both Al's phone number as well as his email address up on our website. That's hospitality1to1.com. Al, thank you again for the invaluable information. Terrific conversation. I wish you nothing but the best success both the rest of this year and going into what appears to be a very exciting 2018.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I have so enjoyed this, and thank you again for giving me this platform.
Hey, no problem. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher. We're also available at facebook.com/hospitality1to1. That's hospitality, the number 1, number 2, and number 1. We're also on Twitter at hospitality1to1 and www.hospitality1to1.com.